Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
And right here, right now at 4:30, we are monitoring two major stories. Of course, the impacts of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, as well as some rain moving through our area.
Yeah, let's check in on the showers that are impacting potentially your commute. Here's a live look outside Rocky Mount. This is from our live picture at Rocky Mount Mills. It's looking cloudy. It's looking rainy, too. Look at that. That's a storm cloud for sure coming overhead. Let's send things over to meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. That doesn't look good, Kat.
No, it doesn't. And honestly, we're looking inside the storm there in Rocky Mount, and it's starting to look a bit suspicious. It's showing signs of beginning to rotate. So we're watching this very, very closely. All of this moving to the east right now. Nothing imminent in the triangle. We do have some storms pushing through Fayetteville, but I want to pause the radar for a moment. Let's zoom in on this cell that we're watching in Rocky Mount right now. You can see just a light little bit of a curvature right in here. This is the area we're going to be watching right along Highway 64. Looking inside the thunderstorm and looking at the wind shear, the rotation detector, it's not as strong as what we were dealing with Friday, but we have our eyes on each new radar scan, and if need be, we'll cut in with updates.
We also have to get an update from Kat.
And we continue to monitor storm cells on the radar this afternoon, and we're watching a strong storm near Rocky Mount, some lightning ramping up within this storm. We'll take a look inside using the dual pole radar coming up.
WRAL is the only station with a dual pole radar.
This is the only team that can point a dual pole radar at your neighborhood, your street, your home, and dive into the storm,
revealing accurate up to the second street level impacts.
Immediately inside this storm and put a storm track on where the rotation is strongest right now. The storm is on the north side of town in Rocky Mount at the moment. We got some stronger rotation just east of High Meadows, so this isn't the exact community that was hit by the EF3 tornado or exact location as Friday, but let me highlight the area that we're watching right now for the rotation. It's right in here where we've got the storm, and it's moving to the north and east. So it's going to be pushing away from Rocky Mount, but it's still right on the north side of town in Rocky Mount. Meteorologist Mike Mays is here with me as well, so we'll have team coverage coming up here in a moment. Did you get the motion on the storm?
East at 20 miles per hour.
Moving east at 20 miles per hour. Before we switch spots here, I do want to put a storm track on this to give you a better idea of when it could arrive where you live. Our storm track moving east at 25 miles per hour here. So it's slower moving than the ones that we saw on Friday. We're going to get some more towns up here on our storm track at the moment. In Dunbar, the rotating part of this intense thunderstorm should arrive at 4:58. Rendell at 4:59. Austin Pines, a little farther down the road, would be closer to 5:12. A quick look at our in-depth, really going street level tracking of this rotation. The rotation's about to cross over Springfield Road. It's going to be moving over Cox Avenue, Cool Spring Road, Gay Road, and this is tracking just south of Battleboro and Leggett Road. So that's a little bit of good news there, but the Rendale community and Dunbar communities, you need to immediately be in your safe place. This storm does have a history of rotation. It's got some lightning ramping up, which is concerning. So we're going to watch this very closely. All right, meteorologist Mike Mays and myself are doing some tag teaming effort here. He's going to switch over and take over from here.
Okay, so to the director, I'm on weather 2, and Kat will be on weather 3 as we switch over sites. Okay, so once again, we do have that tornado warning that's in effect for Nash County and Halifax County and Edgecombe County till 5:30. The storm is moving east at 20. Now, there are a couple of cells that Kat and I have been watching throughout the afternoon. There was one over northeastern Wake County that was showing signs of the potential rotation, also in Cumberland County. But this is the one that has shown the most promise, and this is the only one that's developed into a tornado warning. Now, if you joined us at the top of our newscast, Kat was talking about we are in a level 1 threat for severe weather, for damaging wind gusts, and also a potential for an isolated tornado. So this wasn't unexpected for today. This is all part of that same energy that came through with Helene last Friday, got absorbed into an upper level area of low pressure across the Ohio Valley, and now has come back and moved to the east across the region. So let's get a closer look at what's going on. I'll stop the time lapse and zoom on in so we can get an idea where the greatest rotation is. So there is Springfield Road, there is Tanner Road, Leggett Road, So it's this vicinity here that is under the greatest threat right now with the greatest rotation. And it is not as well defined as what we saw last Friday and the damage that occurred over Rocky Mount and over toward Wesleyan Boulevard. And you could see the location that had the damage. This is where we had the damage last Friday that we had extensive coverage on. That rotation moved over to the same area. So let me back this up. And you can see that the rotation pretty much moved over the same spot. Of course, it came in from a different direction. What we saw on Friday moved from south to north. This is moving from west to east. And the couplet is not nearly as tight as what we saw on Friday. The tightest spot is right here where you see the greens butted up against the reds. There's the red, there's the green. So this is where we saw the couplet more organized today. And that's pretty much where we had the damage occur on Friday. So as we go into motion, we move forward and you can see that rotation moves over into Edgecombe County and isn't looking quite as evolved. Let me turn off the warning so we can get rid of the other reds that are here so you can pick out the reds from the rotation. So again, what you see here, these reds are the raindrops moving away from the radar site. These are the greens moving toward. So you see more of the wind moving toward than you do away. So this is showing signs of weakening. Let me jump over to another product so we can see the rotation detector, and we'll take this back in time too. And you look at the legend, there's no red showing up. When we saw the tornado warning on Friday and the tornado touchdown, we saw strong rotation come out of this. We're just not seeing that this afternoon. And you can definitely see we're not seeing that rotation as we go back in time, but there is rotation showing up on velocity, so you have to treat it as if there's the potential for a tornado. One other definitive product we can look at to see if there's any tornado touchdown. Let's see if we can find a debris ball. And all that blue you see near Rocky Mount looks like it's just a bunch of noise on the radar. There's nothing definitive that stands out in my mind that there's a debris signature showing up. So that's certainly good news. It doesn't look like a tornado did touch down. So again, we do have that tornado warning in effect for Nash County, Halifax County, Edgecombe County till 5:30. And it is moving to the east at about 20 miles per hour. Let me put the warning back on and let me switch over here and there you go. So there is the outline, which includes Rocky Mount, Tarboro, and Hobgood. So the thinking from the National Weather Service is the cell here will eventually maintain its integrity and head into this direction or perhaps over in this direction as well. So let me do a storm track from where this is at, and then I'll toss over to Kat with some other information, and we could see a little bit of a notch. Let me do the storm track first. 20 miles per hour. Let me put some towns on here and see if I can get them to show up. And so we're talking about Rendell at 501, Dunbar Community at 505, Heartsease at 508, Leggett at 510, Logsboro at 516, Lawrence at 521, Belvedere at 524, Hope Lodge 527, and the Speed Community at 535. So if you are in the vicinity of the tornado warning, you need to go to your safe spot right now. Interior room on the lowest level of your house, a bathroom, closet, a pantry. It doesn't have any windows. The smaller, I should say, your room, the more structurally sound. Now you see the little notch here. A lot of times when we see tornado warnings, you see these little notches. It's a little inflow notch. And Kat, we have a new tornado warning. So let me toss this over to Kat. She's going to run through the new warning.
We have a new tornado warning, Mike. This one is issued including a sliver of Johnston County, parts of Harnett, Cumberland, and Sampson County. It's going to track right along I-95 where we have the rotating part of this storm cell, and the tornado warning is in effect until 5:15, about another 25 minutes. It's likely to cross right over the Dunn community and eventually could head toward Benson. So those are just a couple of communities down the road. Right now, Wade is being impacted by this storm. I want to get a quick look inside of this thunderstorm and just show you the rotation is not as strong within this storm right now, but there are some really strong straight line winds that could gust to about 50 miles per hour. And the concern here is that it's heading into an environment where there's more wind shear. So it could begin to rotate. It's got the precursor to rotating already kind of going on within this storm cell. So we are going to keep a very close eye on the tornado warned storm that's going to be headed into parts of Harnett County as well as Johnston County. But at the moment, the more imminent threat definitely looks like it's this storm that's moving through the northern side of town in Rocky Mount. I wanted to mention our reporter Destiny Patterson. She is at the K&W seeking shelter right now in Rocky Mount, I'm sure with a lot of other people there right now. And the worst should be over for you, Destiny, and I'm sure the crowd of people watching with you right now in about 5 minutes. Sit tight for another 5 minutes and you should be okay. The good news is the new scan is in and you don't quite see that notch that we saw before, that little hook. You never want to see a hook when you're looking at potentially tornadic thunderstorms. So let's get a look inside the storm at the latest wind speeds, and it just not looking quite as impressive here. So that's definitely good news there, but we are going to have to continue to monitor that cell just because it has that history of rotating. The tornado warning that does include Rocky Mount, Tarboro into Edgecombe County expires at 5:30, so we've got about 40 minutes left to go in that warning. This warning here for the one that's going to be headed up along I-95 expires at 5:15, so in about 25 minutes. And let's go ahead and put a storm track on this storm. I'm going to do a little bit of a wide one just to account for any deviations in the motion here long term. Irwin, the storm should arrive right around 5:03, Dunn 5:06, Benson at 5:20, and I do want to get some smaller communities really go down to the neighborhood level here on the storm track, so give me a moment to make one edit behind the scenes here so I can work on that and getting more towns up, and then meteorologist Mike Mays is ready to go street level here in just a moment. So let's get some more neighborhoods up here. The Falcon community at 4:56, that means you've got about 4 minutes from now when you need to be seeking shelter. Cooper at 4:58, Irwin and Dunn right around that 5 to 5:05 time frame. Mingo at 5:07, Grove Park 5:09, Benson 5:20, Woods Crossroads 5:21. So those are some of the communities that this tornado warned storm will be impacting. We currently have 2 tornado warnings in effect, and meteorologist Mike Mays is monitoring the new scans from both. Mike.
I go to Brian Trader. He has Destiny Patterson on the phone over in Rocky Mount. Brian, probably very unnerving for the folks over in the Rocky Mount area that experienced that tornado on Friday.
Absolutely. That was a difficult afternoon, and just to get that alert again today, I'm sure it was scary. Let's go to Destiny right now on the phone. Destiny, what was it like when you found out there was another tornado warning for that same part of Rocky Mount?
Well, you guys know the 5 o'clock newscast would be starting pretty shortly here, so we were editing our story in our car. We were right near the parking lot of the Haintaw restaurant, and for people who've been following our coverage, they were hit really hard late last week. So we were sitting just outside of there editing our story, and then all of a sudden our phones buzzed with this tornado warning. And so we went to the nearest business that was still open, which is this K&W cafeteria, and that's where we are now.
Tell me, did other people seek shelter inside that K&W?
Yeah, actually, so we're here, but there are also several other news crews who are here as well who came straight over to this K&W cafeteria as soon as we got the alert. So there are multiple crews that are here standing by while we wait for the storm to pass.
What was the weather like there just as you were getting that warning?
What's really interesting is on our way into Rocky Mount this morning before 10 a.m., it was raining on and off, and then it cleared up pretty well. And for most of the day, it's just been pretty humid. Within the last 30 minutes or so, I would say even less than that, actually, the last 15, it just started pouring rain out of nowhere. When we got out of the car, we already started to see that ponding in the parking lot. My shoes are soaked because of how heavy it was raining in just that short period of time.
Well, it looks like the good news for your specific spot, at least. The storm has moved off to your east, so that's good news. Destiny Patterson, thank you for that live update. She talked about how heavily it was raining. Take a look at that still image from just a few minutes ago out at Betts Parkway at Wesley and Boulevard in Rocky Mount. And then the most recent image from that camera, you can see all of that standing water on the side of the road. Mike?
this afternoon, Brian, between the tornadoes that we had on Friday, the damage off to the west in the mountains with Helene, the massive flooding. This is certainly something we don't want and we don't want to see. But this whole region here is actually under level 1 threat for severe weather this afternoon. The potential exists for damaging winds and an isolated tornado. What is going on is, remember on Friday when we had Helene come on by, it got absorbed in an upper level area of low pressure well toward northwest across the Ohio Valley. I had mentioned on Friday that energy was going to push to the east for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Well, that energy is over us right now, helping to increase the wind shear and the low-level rotation. And that's why we have the 2 tornado warnings. This one here for parts of Cumberland, Sampson, Harnett County, and Johnston County goes till about 5:15. The one over here in Nash County, Edgecombe County, and Halifax counties until 5:30. The one here over Edgecombe County is showing a couplet showing up. This one here so far over Harnett County looks more like straight line winds. So let's zoom into that area first, and you can see the bright greens, which indicate strong winds aloft. I'll pixel query this, and we can see what kind of wind speeds we're talking about. 48-mile-per-hour gusts. And this is at about 783 feet. Notice the radar view, or the radar is located over toward Clayton. So this is the beam is hitting at around 775 feet of elevation. So it wouldn't take much for these strong winds to make their way to the ground and cause some wind damage. There is a tornado warning in effect for this area, again, till 5:15. The Weather Service issuing this because there's some sign of rotation perhaps showing up, but you can see the leading edge of those strongest winds are right about here. So we're going to zoom in and get a street level view to see what communities are impacted. So there's Linden, Godwin, and Falcon close by. So we're talking about the Magruder Road area, the Loop Road area, Burnett Road, Julian Road, West Blackman Road. That's the area that's seeing the leading edge of the strongest winds right now, and eventually they'll make their way up to Dorman Road and also East Jackson Boulevard. If you're watching from Dunn and Irwin, these strong winds are heading in their direction as well. But from what I see here, there's strong shear, there's rotation showing up, more so than what we saw on Rocky Mount in our scans that we were looking at a couple of minutes ago. So right here, this is a strong belt of rotation showing up. So this is most likely why the Weather Service is issuing their tornado warning out of this. So let me clear this off and we'll zoom in a little bit closer to see where that strongest shear is. So again, it's Beaver Dam Road, Magruder Road, eventually making its way up toward Middle Road and Beaver Dam Road. Heading toward the northeast at about 25 miles per hour. So let's do another storm track. We got a new scan coming in and the rotation not looking quite as strong, but it is edging closer toward Irwin and also Dunn. Let me go back to the radar view, or let me do velocity. So we'll do a storm track from the leading edge of these strong winds. So that's northeast at about 25 miles per hour. And let me put some towns on. There are a few towns showing up, but I can get more. And so we're talking about being in Dunn at 503, Irwin at 504, Grove Park 506, Benson at 518, and Spolona at 539. And of course, down the road near Benson, it's crossing I-95 and I-40 at that point. So some of these stronger winds, again, are already along I-95 between Wade, Falcon, and Godwin, and eventually heading deeper into Harnett County and also Johnston County. So, Kat's keeping an eye on the storm over in Edgecombe County. What's the latest over there, Kat?
We have 2 tornado warnings that we are tracking. A lot to watch. Let's send it over to Deborah and Gerald.
All right, Kat, thank you. Boy, I'm Deborah Morgan with Gerald Owens. This is an awful sense of deja vu that we're experiencing again. Thanks so much for staying with us at 5 as we continue to track these tornado warnings.
Yeah, 2 tornado warnings. Let's go back to meteorologist Mike Mays. Mike, this is the gift that keeps on giving, unfortunately, from Helene.
Yeah, we're not done yet. This potential for rotation will stay with us until these storms do pass. So let's go to the broad view and we'll set the scene all over again. So what we've been watching through the afternoon are these scattered showers and storms popping up, and a few are heading into a vicinity where the low-level rotation is greatest. And it looks like there's a little boundary set up here through parts of Wilson County back into Johnson County. I don't know if you can see that little green line here, and that's where this rotation looks like it's setting up. There are more showers off to the west toward Guilford County, Randolph County, Montgomery County. Those will be heading in over the next few hours. I believe once we get this activity out of the area, perhaps the threat will wane just a little bit. But not only are we under level 1 threat for severe weather, any of the thunderstorms out there have the potential to dump some hail. heavy rain. So Kat still standing by with a closer look at what's happening over there in Edgecombe County with that tornado warning.
And, I've got a little bit of good news. I can report Nash County. If you live on the Nash County side of Rocky Mount, you can come out of your safe place. You have been dropped from the tornado warning. The Edgecombe County side of town, you still are under this tornado warning. Another thing I wanted to point out, Tarboro, this is more than likely going to pass just to your north. If you live on the north side of town in Tarboro, you should still be seeking shelter in the lowest level of your home, the most interior room. But the way that we've got the rotation moving, eventually it would arrive in the Hobgood community long term. So a lot to watch within this cell. I do want to go back in time just to show you that the rotation has waned a bit. It's not as strong as it was before. We first started seeing this rotation really pop up right around 4:20 this afternoon. And I mentioned it right off the top of the 4:30 that I was a bit concerned that this was looking a little suspicious right as it approached downtown Rocky Mount. We had a couple of scans come in that showed strong rotation right around 4:30, and it was right around 4:40 that we had the tornado warning issued. And since then, the reds and the greens that you see right in here, that was a pretty well-defined couplet. It's much more diffuse now if we go forward in time to where we are right now. And we just don't quite have that strong rotation like we had earlier. This is what's left of the couplets, pretty dim colors. That means that the wind speeds are slower. However, since this has a history of rotating and we've got the environment for these thunderstorms to begin to rotate, we still need to monitor it very closely. But a positive trend, we hope that we can continue to see the rotation die down over the next 15 to 20 minutes. Not in the clear just yet, but if you do live on the west side of town in Rocky Mount, Dorches, Red Oak, if you live closer to I-95, you are in the clear from the storm as it's starting to move east and away from your location. We just got a new scan in here. This is the latest bit of information. We get in a new scan about every 3 minutes, and the velocity, which is those wind speeds, the reds and the greens that we show you, they're not as bright. That's good news. However, there is still this little bit of what we call an inflow notch. Maybe hear it referred to as a hook echo. Maybe you watched Twisters this summer. So it's right in here that we're going to have to watch for something to still potentially spin up, and that can happen rather quickly. So before I send it back to Mike Mays with a closer look at the other tornado warning that we're watching, I do want to go street level and really call out some neighborhoods. I think that's important. The Rendale community, Dunbar, Logsboro, Spivey Road, Battleboro Leggett Road, and New Hope Church Road. Those are some of the areas that will be impacted. Drawn Road could eventually see some impacts, as well as Dale Loop Road. So please, if you live in those communities that I just called out, you need to be headed into the lowest level of your home, the most interior room. We'll continue to watch this. Still that bit of an inflow notch, but not looking quite as strong when you look inside the thunderstorm at the wind speeds, Mike.
Yeah, one of the things we're noticing, or what we're not seeing with the other tornado warning, is a little notch like you saw, or what we've been seeing with the Rocky Mount tornado warning. You just don't see that setup on this cell here. But what we're seeing on the inside of this thunderstorm, since we do have the technology, we can see the rotation swath that has happened. Let me switch over to that. So you can see the rotation tracker in time. You can see how there were little rotations setting up, and that's why the Weather Service likely issued the tornado warning, because there was some rotation setting up with inside the storm. And still, the latest scan, this is just a culmination of what we've seen over the past 20, 30 minutes or so as the storm moved from the Fayetteville area now into parts of Harnett County, getting closer to Dunn, and eventually up toward Benson. And again, this tornado warning goes to about 5:15 this afternoon. And we take a look at the actual, what we call base velocity. You're not seeing the reds butted up against the greens. So at least in this view, all that green you see, raindrops inside the thunderstorms that are rushing their way toward the north and east. The storm is moving northeast at 20. So right now, let's go to street level. And the strongest winds that are setting up are over toward the Dunn area. So we're talking about right along I-95. This is I-95 right here. And so it's set up just to the east of Dunn. So Dorman Road, West Blackman Road, soon to be East Jackson Boulevard, looking at some of the strongest winds out of this. And we can actually sample the winds. And so where you see the brightest greens, that's where the strongest winds are. Where you see the dullest greens or the darkest greens, that's where the winds aren't quite as strong. So right now, if I was to pinpoint a location that has the strongest winds, and mind you, this is at 665 feet off the ground, so it's not that likely that the winds are that strong near the surface, but some of the winds aloft could translate their way down to the ground. So there's why there's the concern that we could see some wind damage. So between Arrowhead and Middle Road and Beaver Dam Road, this is the location per what we're seeing on the radar that would have the potential to see the strongest winds right now. So as we broaden the view, it looks like the tornado warning has been cut from Cumberland County, so it's just Harnett County right now and also Johnston County that is in the tornado warning, and this continues to move to the northeast at 25. So let's do a new storm track from the leading edge of these strongest winds and northeast at 25 to see what communities will be impacted. And we go through time. Those are the main ones. Let me see if I can get some smaller towns to show up or smaller communities. And so again, it's Irwin right now, Grove Park 508, Benson at 520, Spolona at 541, and Wilson's Mills at 604. Very heavy rainfall is coming down in this cell. The potential for damaging winds is coming out of this cell as well. I don't see definitive rotation like we're seeing with that cell over Edgecombe County, but go to your safe spot, lowest level of your interior house, wherever you're living, interior room, closet, bathroom, maybe a pantry. I've got a room underneath my staircase, very, very small, that I would go to if there was a tornado headed to my house. So just think about the smallest room in your house that has no windows, that's in the interior of your house. That would for the safest structure or safest spot, I should say, inside your house. So we got a new scan, so let me do a new storm track. And again, northeast at about 25 miles per hour. We'll see what communities would be impacted. Let me put some new ones on here. And so again, Spolona at 537, Wilson's Mills now at 559, Benson 516. So it is running parallel to I-95, and eventually when it gets up toward Benson, it'll cross I-40. A lot of traffic this time of day, so the rain would come down torrentially, probably blinding rainfall, and the winds will become rather gusty, probably pushing around loose articles in the yards and such. But as of right now, Kat, I'm not seeing anything specific that would indicate there was a tornado on the ground here.
Absolutely, and I'm not seeing, same goes for the tornado warning that we're tracking now moving through Edgecombe County. The good news is, you know, when we look inside the storm, we're not seeing very strong rotation, but there is still some weak broad rotation. So we still want you to be seeking shelter. We want you to treat this like you would any other tornado warning and seek shelter. I just want to reassure you that this is not looking as strong as what we saw on Friday. However, let's take a look at the storm track. Rindale 509, Leggett at 518, Logsboro 520, Lawrence 531, and the tornado warning is set to expire at 5:30. I did want to point something out for our friends in Rocky Mount that are watching right now. I know anxiety is high. You've got another round of some pretty heavy rain that's moving in, and I've been keeping an eye on this separate storm, and at this point it is not showing any signs of rotation. It is about to rain a lot again, and I'm sure folks there are going to be worried when they start to hear the rain come down, but I am looking inside this cell right here, and at this point there is no rotation. So I just wanted to let you know and reassure you that I am keeping an eye on it and I am monitoring it. We can take a look inside the storm and go back in time to just kind of show you how things have weakened a bit in terms of the rotation. We're going to use a product here that we call the rotation tracker, and it's very light green in this area. On Friday when we had the tornado touchdown, we were well into the bright reds that showed strong rotation. So let's go back in time. I just want to show you it was right around 4:30 that we started to see some brighter green show up on the north side of town in Rocky Mount. We never got to the reds, the strong rotation. However, there was strong enough rotation to warn folks to seek shelter. And ever since then, it's been really diffuse. We've seen much lighter shades of green showing up, and that just shows the wind speed's not as strong. And when I was looking inside the storm on Friday, for example, the wind shear was over 80 miles an hour. And when that number hits 80, that's a sign that you're much more likely to actually see a tornado touchdown today. When I've been looking inside the storm, even at the strongest point, it was still at 60 miles per hour. So at this point, it doesn't appear that we have evidence of anything actually touching down. We'll let you know if we hear any reports of damage, and if it's safe to do so, let us know if you've seen anything. But just highlighting the storm that is currently moving through Rocky Mount right now on the south side of town. I'm going to put a circle around it, switch over here to the velocities, and just show you we don't have any kind of rotation showing up to reassure some of those folks in Rocky Mount. And a new scan came in while I was talking here for the tornado warning in northern Edgecombe County, Tarboro. At this point, it's extremely likely that the storm is going to stay well to your north. It's just if you live on the north side of town in Tarboro, still be on alert. The rotation at this point is looking pretty broad, and we'll continue to monitor it. Mike.
We'll go to the big picture, and outside of our viewing area, there's a flash flood warning that's been issued for Guilford County and also Randolph County. That's until 8 o'clock. And I mentioned that our area is also under the threat for some localized flooding. So any of the cells that we see coming through our area this afternoon could dump heavy enough rainfall to produce some flooding. I don't see that right now, but you can see the green polygon just off to the west for Greensboro and just to the northern part of Randolph County. So that flash flood warning does go until about 8 o'clock tonight. Let's go back to the storm in Harnett County and Johnston County. The polygon is shrinking, so the threat area is shrinking too. Let me stop this and we'll zoom in. And it looks like it's just Harnett County now, the Dunn area that is under the tornado warning. So I suspect either this is going to get canceled earlier or will expire in just about 6 minutes when we get to 5:15. So you can see the outline no longer includes Johnston County. It's on the border right there. And so this is just primarily the Harnett County area. Let me clear this off. We'll zoom in. Actually, let me turn on the velocities first. And again, it just looks like straight line winds. And that's the way it looked like from the very beginning, rushing to the northeast, heading through Dunn and Irwin right now, and eventually making its way toward Benson. And you can see, let me do a time lapse over the past 30 minutes, how bright green these winds were. That would indicate some strong winds near Wade, and just rushing quickly to the northeast and still seeing straight line winds heading toward Benson, but not quite as strong. So this cell is showing signs of weakening. So I suspect one of two things: either they'll cancel this warning altogether, or they'll issue a severe thunderstorm warning to replace this as it heads through Benson and Four Oaks. So we'll watch momentarily to see what will go on, but still not seeing really any kind of definitive rotation. You can see that for yourself because we've taught you what to look for when there are tornadoes. And Kat saying
they expired the Harnett County warning.
And they expired the Harnett County warning. So we're good there. All that's left right now is what Kat's been watching over toward Edgecombe County.
And it's still diffuse.
And even that one isn't all that impressive, which is excellent news. So let me stop this, put the reflectivity back on. We'll zoom in to this area here. And again, just to remind you that we are not in the clear yet. When these tornado warnings come to an end, there could still be other cells over the next couple hours because we are still in a level 1 threat for severe weather. Let me time lapse this and show you we have some activity moving through Greenland and Lenore counties, southern Johnston County. There's some activity near Bailey and Wilson County and the Nash County area, over far northeastern Johnston County, Emmett and Archer Lodge, or Emmet and Archer Lodge, I should say. So we'll continue to watch the radar, but both areas, the polygon hasn't disappeared yet, but that's over, and we'll eventually perhaps see that one come to an end, although that notch still looking a little bit impressive. So let me stop this and we'll zoom in a little bit closer, because we've looked at tornado warnings before and they don't look that impressive, and we've seen them spin up, so we're not going to call off the dog, so to speak, on this. We got another 20 minutes until this warning expires. So let's go back over to the velocities and take a couple different views, and we're not really seeing anything definitive. Let's go to Rendale and Leggett. Let me turn off the tornado warning so we can get rid of that red. And so we're seeing Brattleboro Leggett Road, the Leggett Community, White Oak, Swamp Road, New Hope Church Road, and again, not really seeing much in the way of definitive rotation. We'll go to the shear rate or rotation detector, and even that really wouldn't scream out strong shear, strong rotation. So we will continue to watch this. We're still in the tornado warning. What we'll do, if we're okay to do this, we'll continue to watch this, monitor this. We can toss it back to Deborah and Gerald, and we'll just wait and watch this closely. If we see any signs of this spinning back up, is that okay that we do that? And Kat and I will continue to watch this closely, because we're seeing signs that this is pretty much falling apart. And as you can see, as we go back in time, let me go back about 45 minutes or so you can see the evolution of this. Again, it looked really impressive over Rocky Mount. You can definitely see the rotation here, okay? And so we'll clear that off. And you can see as we go through time, yeah, there's still some shear there at 447, but as we go through time, it gradually falls apart. Although that latest scan could be a little bit worrisome there as we're seeing the reds come back to life. What we're gonna do, we're gonna toss to Brian Schrader. we'll continue to watch this. And when you're done, Brian, you can toss it back to me and I'll have a new scan.
Sounds good, Mike. Let me know if you need to go back on the air here. I want to take you to Cumberland County, even though that tornado warning now has expired. Seeing some very heavy rain. This is the camera in Dunn at I-95 at Bud Hawkins Road there in Harnett County. And you can see from that still image just a couple of minutes ago how hard that rain is falling. This is another camera on Bud Hawkins Road at 301, and you can see some of that standing water there. So really getting a dousing. And as we take a look at the traffic sensors on I-95, again, ignore that red shape. That tornado warning no longer is in effect for Dunn and Benson. You can see that slow traffic in both directions of I-95 right now. Of course, we earlier talked about that tornado warning in Rocky Mount. Destiny Patterson was there covering the damage from Friday's tornado, and she had to seek shelter inside that K&W cafeteria, and she joins us live now. Destiny, I know that K&W was the staging area for what happened on Friday. Tell me about what you experienced this afternoon.
That's right, Brian. It's kind of ironic in that way. As you mentioned, we are down here covering the damage and the destruction from Friday's tornado. And just about 4:45, just before then, our phones started buzzing, letting us know that we had a tornado warning. To put this into perspective, just on the other side of this building is where we saw that destruction for the Hing Ta restaurant. It was one of the hardest hit buildings here from Friday's tornado. So once we got that alert, then we came over to this K&W cafeteria. We knew it was close. We knew that we would have safe shelter. This is one of the buildings that is still standing after Friday's tornado. So we went inside and we waited until we got the all clear from all of you and all of our strong meteorologists back at the station. So once we got the all clear, I came out here. I got just a couple of shots of some of that rain, but it had already kind of dissipated just that quickly. It was like as quickly as it spun up, it went down. So now we're just standing by and waiting to give you guys the coverage from Friday's tornado, as well as looking forward to everything that we just experienced just in the last 30 minutes or so.
All right, thanks for that update, Destiny Patterson. And Rocky Mount can use a break after the past several days here.
A dual pole radar is a game changer. WRAL has the only one in Wake County.
You have a horizontal beam and a vertical beam, so it can see things in 3 dimensions.
2 different radar beams to understand the shape of what's falling.
The difference between rain, sleet, snow, and you can see tornado debris.
There must be a tornado on the ground because there's debris up in the atmosphere. It shows up as a blue ball. We can show you where the tornado is more accurately.
And that tornado debris signature allows us to alert people to the danger of a tornado on the ground faster.
We have another serious weather day to talk about. This is more like April than it is late September, early October in a couple of days.
Mike, you have some information about where people saw a funnel cloud as another tornado warning is still in effect.
Exactly. I just wanted to point out the roads where the funnel cloud was spotted by Sampson County Sheriff's law enforcement. It was Jada Allen Road and Ira B. Tart Road here in Harnett County. That's where the funnel cloud was spotted. Didn't touch down, but at least that's where it was witnessed. And as I broaden out the view, you can see it in relation to the Dunn, McCoy area, Woods Cross roads, and the latest scan shows those stronger winds now over Benson, but there's no warning in effect. But it's pretty windy right now over the Benson area, at least the winds showing up on the radar. And let's get over here toward the other tornado warning. Let me put it on the map. Oop, I went a little bit too far. Here we are in Edgecombe County, and still there is some rotation showing up, broad in nature though. I'll point this out right here. And there is the rotation. Of course, the green raindrops moving toward the radar, the red's moving away, and you're just not seeing the bright colors that you would normally see with a strong rotation. We'll zoom in street level. We're seeing Dale Loop Road, Spivey Road, the Drawn Road in Leggett, eventually making its way toward Lawrence. Let me broaden out the view here, and we'll put a storm track on so you guys over in the Hobgood and Coakley communities can see what's going on. And we'll move to the east at about 20 miles per hour. And we will put a storm track, Oak City at 6:04. I know I can get a few more communities to show up. And there we go. And none are, oh wait. There we go. Lawrence at 5:31, Speed at 5:41, Mount Pilgrim 5:58, the Conahoe location at 6:02, and Oak City at 6:04. Now, I want to jump over to what else is going on, and wanted to show you the radar view. We'll put this into motion. Here is the broad view. Of course, we have those warnings in effect. We have a flash flood warning in effect for Guilford County and northern Randolph County also till about 8:15 or 8 o'clock, I should say. Still very heavy rainfall moving through Benson and Four Oaks, eventually getting up toward the Selma community. All this is moving to the northeast, and heavy rainfall happening in the northern coastal plain as well. This area is under level 1 risk for severe weather, roughly from Raleigh through Fayetteville, Goldsboro, Wilson. Damaging winds can't be ruled out. Maybe an isolated weak brief tornado. That is the potential. And this area also has a level 1 risk for flooding, medium risk as you get up toward Roanoke Rapids and Warrenton and up into southern Virginia. There's a flash flood warning right now under Richmond area. They're seeing some flooding up there. The ground's just so saturated.
Thanks for staying with us tonight. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Dan Haggerty. A very active radar tonight. On top of all of it, we are tracking storms. A tornado warning just expired a few minutes ago, and a few counties in our area are watching all of this very closely.
Yes, let's get straight over to meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center for an update. Kat?
The good news is, as we've been telling you, if you've been tuned in, the tornado warning has expired. The rotation was really beginning to weaken, and we had seen a good 10 minutes of radar scans showing us that the rotation had really fallen apart and didn't seem to be flaring back up. So that's the good news. The National Weather Service let this expire. You can still see a little bit of a hook here. We're going to watch it very closely. Meteorologist Mike Mays is sitting right behind me, and we're looking over every new radar scan. All of this activity is pushing to the east. No active tornado warnings at the moment. We do have the potential for some gusty winds and some torrential rain, a little bit of lightning, nothing imminent for the triangle, but we do have some cells a little bit farther to the west that we'll continue to monitor. These could move in a bit later on this evening. And a flash flood warning to mention. This is for Northampton County. A flash flood warning there in effect until 8:15. I'll have a closer look at when the rain clears out this week coming up.
Let's get things over to meteorologist Kat Campbell, who's been tracking some big storms coming through our area.
And the good news is I've been looking at all the new radar scans. Nothing rotating out there at the moment. However, it's probably a mess on I-95 in Johnston County right now for the evening commute. Really heavy rain coming down, and it's pretty much along the entire stretch of highway through Johnston County. The good news is, that storm previously had a little bit of rotation on it. Since then, that rotation has weakened. Rocky Mount drying out right now. We're still watching the cells in Edgecombe County, but those are moving out. Next thing we need to watch is these little storms. At this point, they're not looking very menacing, but we'll keep an eye on them.
I had mentioned on Friday that energy was going to push to the east. Well, that energy is over us right now, and that's why we have the 2 tornado warnings.
A new tornado warning in the same area devastated just days ago by a powerful EF3. Hear from our crew in the field who had to seek shelter. Then, Helene wiping out hundreds of roads, power, and access to critical supplies. We are live in Asheville with the efforts to make sure people have food and water.
3 days after the storm, and it's still a struggle for people to get a hold of loved ones in western North Carolina. We break down why this storm hit communications like nothing we've ever seen before.
Time-lapse video shows storms moving through during a tornado warning. This is from Rocky Mount Mills. Yes, another tornado warning in Rocky Mount with possible rotation around the same streets a tornado hit just 3 days ago. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Gerald Owens. We have team coverage tonight. WRAL's Destiny Patterson is in Rocky Mount. She is safe after taking shelter.
We're also covering Helene's impact in the western part of North Carolina, from issues with cell service to asking state leaders where resources are going and when people can expect some help. Let's go ahead and begin with meteorologist Mike Mays in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Mike, luckily, Rocky Mount should be in the clear tonight, right?
Yeah, they definitely are. But it's ironic how the cell that we were watching this afternoon moved right over Rocky Mount. Friday's moved from south to north. This one came from west to east and didn't have the kind of signature that we saw on Friday where a tornado did touch down. So we don't have any report of a tornado touchdown, and that cell is long gone now. This is what we're seeing on the radar right now. There is a flash flood warning for Guilford County and parts of Northampton County. This one here is until about 8:15. Heavy rain in Johnston County right now, and in some of our eastern counties over toward Edgecombe County, the Tarboro-Princeville area, southeastern Halifax County, eastern Northampton County. These showers and storms are moving to the northeast. We have a little bit of activity off to the west, and it's early this evening that we have that threat for showers and storms. Also have a level 1 threat for severe weather where you see the dark green, which includes Raleigh and Goldsboro. It's for damaging wind gusts, maybe an isolated tornado. We've seen 2 tornado warnings so far this afternoon, and we're not out of the woods yet. I think over the next couple hours we can't rule something out, and there's a small potential for some localized flooding. Greater up to the north where we have that flash flood warning in effect right now for Northampton County. It's again until 8:15.
Thank you. Now back to Rocky Mount. This is a live look from Rocky Mount Mills. You can see a little bit of sun shining now. What a difference 30 minutes can make. Many people in that town had to take cover in the last hour during that tornado warning.
And that includes WRAL's Destiny Patterson, who joins us live. Destiny, you spent hours talking with people dealing with last week's tornado when you got wind of a tornado today.
That's right, Gerald. As Deborah mentioned, 30 minutes makes a world of a difference. This is the K&W cafeteria. This is where we took shelter once we received that alert on our phones just before 4:45. And our meteorologists are so good that they made sure that we took shelter as soon as we could. But this is actually where we were. This is the Hing Ta restaurant. This is one of the buildings that took some serious damage from that EF3 tornado that came through the area on Friday. You can really see the way that it tore up this building and that auto repair shop just on the other side of here. And the city officials tell me that there were multiple buildings that were a total loss, and they are still working to confirm just how many that is. Still intact, but hanging by a thread, the Hing Ta restaurant is one of multiple buildings considered a total loss after this EF3 tornado barreled through Rocky Mount Friday. The owners here, too shaken up to talk.
We all took a great hit.
On the other side of these buildings, Keisha Justice longs to check on hers, but bricks and broken glass stand in her way, considered hazards by the city's plans examiner.
So once the debris is removed and it's no longer unsafe, the vehicles will also be removed, and then we will go unit by unit with the property owner and the business owners to make sure there are not any other issues.
Justice's business focuses on building up women fighting breast cancer, a mastectomy boutique. Her windows now covered with wooden boards and a warning in red.
To see the buildings boarded up, I don't know if it's worse or if it's better.
City officials say some cleanup has to happen before Justice can see the damage up close.
For a business owner, that's very, there's a lot of uncertainty there.
That feeling will likely remain for days. It's part of a slow recovery process of what this community can salvage. I mean, this is another vantage point of that damage here. You can really see that damage here from this point of view. Both of these buildings, again, serious damage. City officials tell me at least 3 buildings are a total loss, and they're considering at least 2 more that have significant damage. Rocky Mount Police, they have been blocking this area off, and they tell me that they'll stay here through at least the week as they continue and start that cleanup process here so they can allow business owners back into this area. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Rocky Mount.
All right, Destiny, thank you. Once the tornado warning was issued, we sent this push alert to your cell phone. Make sure to download the WRAL News app to be first to know about severe weather in your area.
Now, for us, we're not done with showers and storms. We have no warnings locally, but there's a new tornado warning in Martin County and Bertie County till 6:45. That's the cell that moved through Edgecombe County that is actually ramped back up. And I was looking at the radar view out of Wakefield up in southeast Virginia, and it looked very impressive. So we'll watch to see if there's actually a tornado touchdown there near Oak City. That's just to the east of Hobgood. That'll continue to move to the east, deeper into Bertie and Martin counties. We see Johnson County, Wilson County, parts of Wayne County seeing some rain. Moore County too, southern Cumberland County near Hope Mills, and some activity up here in Orange and Alamance counties. But by far, along the I-95 corridor for Johnson and Wilson County, we are seeing some of the heaviest rainfall. And we'll watch over the next hour or so to see if any of this takes on rotation. So far, I looked at this about 5 minutes ago. I wasn't seeing anything bad or suspicious except down here over western Wayne County, and I'll watch this once I get off the air. Off to the west, a little bit more activity moving through Lee County, Moore County, and parts of Chatham County. That is heading toward the Triangle area.
This system already prompting tornado warnings with more storms possible. How long the threats last tonight?
Then a rescue caught on camera. Hear from the hero who jumped into raging floodwaters to save a woman.
Days after an EF3 tornado swept through Rocky Mount, you can still see the debris and you can still see the destruction here. Coming up, the latest information that we know about the injuries and next steps for this community.
Thank you for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Ashley Rowe. We have a lot to talk about in Western North Carolina tonight.
I'm Dan Haggerty.
And we have to look to our own backyard. We are keeping our eye on radar tonight. Kat, we saw a tornado warning out east today. Where are these storm cells going next?
Well, they're all moving to the east at about 20 miles per hour. The good news is a lot of anxiety in Rocky Mount due to the recent tornadoes. And there wasn't a tornado that ever touched down today out of that warning. Still some rain moving through the area right now. And the strongest storm is passing by Goldsboro and headed into eastern Wayne County. We are watching some storms that are moving through Sanford. We'll watch these as they pass just on the south side of Raleigh. We can't rule out a severe storm for a couple more hours, but we're almost done with the risk. As the sun sets, our level 1 threat should gradually come to a close.
So for the first time, we're getting a look at some of this up close and personal here. This is the damage after that EF3 tornado hit Rocky Mount on Friday. We know 14 buildings were damaged. 3 are a total loss. This same area, I could hardly believe it tonight when they got another scare today when another tornado warning popped up just this afternoon. WRAL's Destiny Patterson was there reporting and had to take cover during the city's state of emergency.
This sea of bricks used to be a medical supply building. It's one of multiple that's considered a total loss here in Rocky Mount because of the debris that's scattered across this shopping center. Days later, business owners still don't have access. Barriers stand between Keisha Justice and her livelihood.
To see all of the yellow tape, to see the debris that is still here, it's still very... the feelings are still there.
The same feelings of devastation she felt just hours after this EF3 tornado barreled through Rocky Mount Friday.
All I heard was the sound or the howl.
Her building was one of more than a dozen damaged. City officials deem multiple a total loss.
We have been just looking at the structural stability.
Justice's business focuses on building up women fighting breast cancer, a mastectomy boutique.
In 2018, I lost my mom to breast cancer.
The place that honors her mother, now covered with wooden boards and a warning in red. Bricks and broken glass considered hazards by the city's plans examiner.
So once the debris is removed and it's no longer unsafe, the vehicles will also be removed, and then we will go unit by unit with the property owner and the business owners to make sure there are not any other issues.
City officials say some cleanup has to happen before Justice can see the damage up close.
Yep.
For now, she looks from afar, anxious to see what she can salvage, but thankful that she can rebuild. You can see the way this wood pierces this windshield here, and this isn't the only damaged vehicle. City officials say that once they clear this and the debris, they'll allow business owners back into the shopping center. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Rocky Mount.
Boy, the folks in Rocky Mount really need to catch a break.
Closer to home, another scare in Rocky Mount as another tornado warning was issued for the same area that was hit by a powerful EF3 on Friday. Thankfully, today there was no major damage. Good news for an area already dealing with 14 damaged buildings and at least 3 of them destroyed. Some business owners say they can't even get to their businesses.
All I heard was the sound or the howl. To see all of the yellow tape, to see the debris that is still here, it's still very, the feelings are still there.
Unreal, just to hear her story.